Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me okay. This is Shannon speaking. For those of you who missed the technical orientation at the beginning, please do let us know in the chat box at any time if you are having trouble hearing or if you're having any technical difficulties. So welcome to our first webinar for Active Communities. This one is Connecting Active Communities, a chance for everyone to share what they're doing with their projects. So just a quick reminder, if you are not on mute, please use *6 to mute your lines. And again, if at any time you have a question or a concern, please use that chat box on the right. And if you want to just start by using that chat box, let us know which community you're representing today so that everyone can see not just the participant list, but what communities are on the call with us today. So if you wouldn't mind just using that chat box.
Can anybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm just trying to figure out if I need to mute or not.
Oh, no worries. Cranbrook, Penticton, Hackliff, Hallwood. Awesome. Okay, well, as everyone's doing that, we're just going to pull up one of the features of our webinar, which is our poll system. So we'd love to know, using this poll on your screen, what is the weather like for you today? What would be the theme song for your weather in your community this morning? Jealous of the people with sunshine today. We've got a pretty good mix. Lots of winter, I'm afraid. Awesome. That's great. So now you know the chat box and the poll, which is perfect. Welcome, everyone. My name is Shannon Clark, and I'm a community facilitator with BC Healthy Communities Society. And joining me today in the office is Diana Grescu, our research and Celeste Zimmer, our community engagement coordinator, and also your tech support this morning. We want to start by acknowledging that here at BC Healthy Communities in Victoria, we work as on the territory of the Coast Salish peoples of the Songhees, Esquimalt, and Wasanic nations. But as most of you know, we also visit many other communities throughout BC, so we're grateful to be visitors throughout the year on many other First Nations territories. So just a brief overview of what we're planning to do for our webinar today. We'll do a brief introduction about us here at BC Healthy Communities, and then Carrie McKelvey from BC Alliance for Healthy Living will do a brief overview, and then Diana is going to talk about evaluation. Then it'll be the chance for all of you to share what it is that you're doing with your projects, followed by a brief question and discussion period, and then next steps. So BC Healthy Communities is a province-wide nonprofit organization. We facilitate the ongoing development of healthy, thriving communities. We provide a range of different programs, services, planning processes, and resources that support different communities throughout the province, working with local governments, health authorities, and other multi-sectoral groups to facilitate collaboration and sharing to develop a shared vision and a common purpose. The Active Communities program is supported and funded by the province of BC through the BC Alliance for Healthy Living, as well as Island Health Authority and Interior Health Authority. And with that, I would love to pass it over to Carrie McKelvey, who is going to give a brief overview from the BC for Healthy Living. So Carrie, if you're able to unmute your line, it's over to you.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me? Oh, okay, great. Thanks. Thanks for the invitation to this webinar today. It's really good to keep in touch with the great work that BC Healthy Communities is doing on the Active Communities Initiative. So I'm Carrie McKelvey. I've been working for 2 years as a consultant to the BC Alliance for Healthy Living, providing implementation and evaluation support across the many initiatives funded within BC's physical activity strategy. So on the left side of that slide is an overview of the province's physical activity strategy with the key focus areas of the 3-year action plan highlighted in white. Within the current action plan, the initiatives focus on increasing physical activity and physical literacy in the early years with children and youth, in older adults, with First Nations and Aboriginal peoples, and in communities as a whole. There is an array of partnerships and mechanisms behind the actions. BC Alliance for Healthy Living, through funding from the Ministry of Health, is working with many partner organizations to implement the action plan initiatives. The Ministry of Health also funds the Centre for Hip Health and Mobility directly to implement their work under the older adults focus area. So under the BC Alliance for Healthy Living, Via Sport, YMCA, Sport for Life, and the BC Injury Research and Prevention Unit are all working on initiatives focused on children and youth, while Child Health BC is the lead for our Early Years initiative. iSpark is our implementation partner for initiatives focusing on First Nations and Aboriginal peoples. Within the Active Communities initiative, which we're all here for today, the BC Alliance for Healthy Living is working in partnership with the BC Healthy Communities Society for grant projects reaching Island Health and Interior Health Authorities. And we also have direct partnerships with Fraser, Northern, and Vancouver Coastal Health Authorities for the Active Communities grant projects in those regions. The Active Communities initiative is a big one for the action plan with great potential reach. We have 52 Active Communities grant projects launched across the province. So I know we have a packed agenda this morning. I won't take up more time, but thanks for the chance to introduce the BCAHL and the physical activity strategy, and I look forward to the rest of the morning. Thanks very much.
That's great. Thank you so much, Carrie. Appreciate you taking the time to provide everyone with a more provincial perspective. So as everyone probably knows from applying for the grant, and as Carrie mentioned, the real purpose of this opportunity was to improve access or inclusion for targeted populations or communities through healthy community design or through healthy public policy. We really aim to strengthen multi-sectoral collaboration and to focus on more context-specific upstream approaches to the work. We are happy that we are motoring through our agenda already, which is great, so it'll give us lots of time for community sharing a bit later. But at this point, I would love to introduce to you Diana Grescu, our Research and Impact Specialist, who is going to introduce you to evaluations.
Great, thanks Shannon. Hi everyone, and welcome to the evaluation component of this webinar. My name is Diana, and I support research and evaluation with BC Healthy Communities, and I'm really excited to be here today. So for the next slide, I just wanted to give everyone an overview of what I hope to touch on today. So we're going to be discussing the evaluation overview for this grant, as well as reporting timelines, the importance of evaluation, data collection methods that you could use in your own work, equity lens and evaluation, the importance of establishing baselines when we're collecting data, as well as some evaluation tools and resources, specifically what data is available out there for physical activity in BC. Great, so before we actually dive into it, I just wanted to bring up a poll question here just to get a sense of how everyone's feeling about evaluation and how things are going. So you should see that poll shortly. And feel free to click on the response that describes your level of readiness. That's okay. So it doesn't seem like it's popping up right now, so we might ask that question later on. But generally, the aim of that question was just to see if communities have thought about evaluation, if you've have a plan in place for evaluation, or if you've implemented an evaluation plan already. So it looks like it's up there now. So if everyone wants to just click that in there, great. Okay, so it's good. So looks like a lot of people have already started thinking about an evaluation plan. That's good news. Okay, great. So it looks like the majority of us have thought about an evaluation plan, which is a great first step. So hopefully today's webinar will give everyone a sense of direction and will help support that process of implementation. I'm going to end the poll now. Great. Perfect. So in terms of evaluation for this grant, you're going to be evaluating your own work on the ground. And we really want to emphasize that our team here at BCHC is here to support you in evaluating your community health projects in ways that are relevant to your projects. And we really hope to support this community capacity for evaluation through our active communities learning network webinars such as this one, as well as in-kind support, and by sharing additional resources and tools with you throughout the year. And we're also really excited to continue learning from you and what you're doing with evaluation, so it's a two-way street of learning. As a part of this grant, you'll also be contributing to the evaluation of the provincial physical activity strategies through reporting methods, which we'll touch on the next slide. But we really appreciate everyone taking the time to complete these reports because they provide us with useful information so we can understand what outcomes are occurring in your communities, but also how to make our grant programs more effective in the future. So in terms of timelines, there's going to be 2 reports released to you, so the midpoint report as well as the final report. The midpoint report is due April 30th, 2018, and the final report is due November 30th, 2018. We have yet to know the exact dates of release for these reports, but they're going to be at least a month to 1.5 months prior to the due date, so you'll have lots of time to fill those out. And right now, they're going to be, we're guessing that they're going to be about 15 to 20 minutes to fill out. We understand everyone's really busy, so we wanted to keep them short and sweet. And in between the midpoint and the final reports, there's also going to be a second webinar to support that process. But if you have any questions in the meantime on the reports, feel free to reach out to us at any time. Great. So in this next section, I wanted to give an overview of the importance of evaluating community initiatives and what information can be gathered from evaluation. Typically, people think that evaluation is something that should occur at the end of a project, but it's really most beneficial when it's an ongoing process. Because once your project is developed and implemented, you can get feedback ongoing that helps you determine the value of your projects, what areas you can improve and what's working well, and also the outcomes of your projects, which can be important for accountability. And right now, you may be interested in various questions related to your projects, such as process measures and implementation and planning. You might have questions such as how well is your initiative planned and implemented? How satisfied are participants with your program? You might also be asking questions about your outcomes. So are you obtaining your objectives? So how well has your initiative met your stated objectives? And are you having an impact on the participants in your project or in your community? And what kind of difference is being made? So before you can start to answer these types of questions, it's really important to have a good understanding of your project's purpose, the activities or interventions that you're going to be carrying out, your expected outputs, and outputs refer to the evidence that you've performed those activities. So, for example, you might expect to run 2 workshops or 2 events for your community. You might expect to develop one particular resource for a certain group, and so that would be an output that you expect to have. An intended outcome, you might want to break it up into short-term, intermediate, and long-term outcomes that you expect to see. Some examples are listed here. So in the short term, you might expect to see an increase in knowledge or skills among your participants. In the intermediate term, you might expect to see changes in community programs or policies as a result of your work. And in the long term, you might expect to see changes in community health outcomes. And again, the time frames vary for particular interventions and projects, and reaching long-term outcomes can take years. In measuring these outcomes, you will want to choose objective measures, which are called indicators. And you can think of your outcomes as your final destination, and your indicators are light posts that signify if you're on track or getting to the end of the road. So again, if you have any questions about what indicators to use or setting up these components of your evaluation, please feel free to contact us at any time. So in answering those questions and collecting information on your outcomes and outputs, there are different ways that you can collect this information, and I've listed a few data collection methods here. This includes surveys, questionnaires, focus groups, storytelling, document reviews, and information systems. You might want to draw on provincial or regional health data, for example. And each of these data collection methods are valuable in their own way. And ideally, you'd want to use mixed methods approaches, so you can collect both qualitative and quantitative data. And one example of this is if you collect quantitative data, you might be yielding statistics or numbers. And that can be really useful because it could be more unbiased, but it might not provide the context or themes that you want to know more about, and that's where qualitative data can also help fill that gap. So mixed methods approaches are quite valuable. One of the key purposes of this grant is to increase action and inclusion for targeted groups and to ensure that people have the opportunity to attain their full potential and that no one is disadvantaged because of their socially determined circumstance. So we really wanted to present what an equity lens could look like in your evaluation. And as you begin to collect your data, it's important to see whether there is an equity lens and whether the project is being inclusive. And so we've just put up some questions that you can ask yourself before your project starts and as you evaluate and monitor your progress. And so you might want to ask who is and who will be included in the work that you do and who might be excluded. What might contribute to this exclusion? What can you do differently to ensure inclusivity? Do you and your partners feel that you are culturally sensitive? Have you considered potential unintended negative outcomes on particular groups? And have you thought about what you would do if you find your project is excluding any groups in your community? We also wanted to bring up the importance of baselines, and a baseline is a standard against which you can measure any changes that have been implemented by your program. And baseline measures are really great because they can tell you whether your efforts are working, because you can compare data before and after your intervention to identify trends or changes. And this is especially important when you're measuring an increase in something. So if you want to see if there's an increase in participation or if there's an increase in a sense of belonging, for example. Baseline measures can also help tell you if you're using ineffective methods. So for example, if you see that your pre and post trends are remaining the same, you might want to take a little bit of a different approach, or you might want to question why that is. If you see that people are actually not participating as much, that's another signal to maybe change your approach or to get to the bottom of what's going on. But it's also important to remember that an intervention can take some time to produce a desired effect. So giving some time to compare the data is really important as well. And when you're developing a baseline, you ideally want to start developing one before your project starts. Again, you want to identify what your objectives are of your project, outcomes and indicators. And then you want to pick an indicator that's measurable and relevant so you can identify a change in trends. And you also want to be clear about where you're starting from. So what information do you already have, or do you have to collect your own data? So usually at the project level, it's very common that people do have to collect their own data. So if they want to see an increase in participation, for example, they might want to do surveys and get a baseline of how many people attended a particular event beforehand and whether there was an increase in participation after their event. Some pre-post survey questions that you could also ask are on the screen here. So an example is, before this webinar, we could ask what your understanding of topic X is, and participants can rate with the scale. And after the webinar, you want to ask the same question, and you want to see if there is an increase in understanding of topic X and rate with the same scale. So that's just a local way of developing a baseline and seeing if there are some changes going on. Great. So for the next slide here, we wanted to provide some data that's out there on measuring outcomes, so additional resources, particularly related to physical activity in BC. And we're going to be sending this a detailed document out afterwards that's going to include the resource title, the resource link, and how this resource might be useful to you. But I'll just briefly go through it right now. In terms of community data, there is My Health, My Community data. And this summary sheet only includes data for Vancouver Coastal Health and Fraser regions. But we wanted to include it here to provide some insight into indicators that are currently being collected on physical activity. And again, that detailed document will have more information on links as well as how might it be useful. The BC Community Health Profiles have been created by the Provincial Health Services Authority, and this includes some data on physical activity for students from the Ministry of Education Satisfaction Survey. It also includes some active transportation data, so it includes the percent of people who walk and bike to work in those regions. And it also provides regional demographic data, including chronic disease data. However, there's no regional data on physical literacy at this time. Another resource that we wanted to share was the Statistics Canada 2016 census data, and it includes journey to work data, which relates to transportation indicators. So there's data on the main mode of commute, for example, as well as commute duration. And census data can also provide insight on demographics in your geographic location, which might help you get a sense of who is in your community and what priority groups you might want to focus on. So again, if you have any questions about data and physical activity, please feel free to reach out to us, but we will be sending out a detailed resource sheet afterwards.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Diana. Really appreciate that overview and hope that the community representatives appreciate that as well. And most of you should have my email address and Celeste, so feel free to connect with us and we can link you in with Diana as well. So thank you very much. So now on to the community sharing portion of our morning. So this is an opportunity for each of you to just share with other communities what it is that you've been working on or what it is that you will be working on as part of your Active Communities Grant project. So please try to limit your presentation to 4 or 5 minutes each, and we're going to hold questions until the end so that after all the communities have had a chance to share what it is they've been working on, we're going to have a question and discussion period. So if you want to put your question in the chat box so that you don't forget it, that's okay too. Otherwise, we will do that at the end. And you will get a 30-second warning when your time is just about up. So yeah, please let us know if you have any questions at the end. So we're going to go through in alphabetical order. So starting with Akam Nation, we have Jackie Duss. So Jackie, if you want to unmute your line, it is over to you.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so I'm representing Akam community. I'm the Director of Community Health and Wellness out here, and we were lucky enough to secure a fitness grant that is going to support our strategic Kitikakan plan, specifically under the TP pole of recreation. So things that we are going to be doing is we have a gym that's about to be finished in March, so we are hiring a fitness recreation worker for about 20 hours a week, and they're going to be doing 2 gym nights a week. One's going to be around community play, and the other one's going to be pre-season training. As well, we are looking at developing a coaching school workshop for the whole community and frontline workers, and what we want to see is us to take the concept of fitness, broaden it away from sports related only to look at how do we achieve excellence in our lives, in our families, in supporting us all over the place. You'll see on the screen here we've got a dilapidated rink. So the background is the gym, but the other area is a rink that is no longer serviceable. And so what we want to do is we're initiating conversations to upgrade what we call our Resplex, and to see if we can design it to be more of an open space for basketball and a little bit of skate Skateboarding is what the goal is. Because it's on 5-band land, it's going to take some negotiations, so we're going to spend some time doing that. The other thing that we are going to be doing is we're going to be hosting a series of competitions. So we want to get into the hearts and homes of our community and figure out what they're doing already and honor that, and then to build on those interests by sharing stories, by promoting competitions and just different events. And so if you think in line of a skip-a-thon, that's sort of where we're going. And so there's going to be some community kits built, as well as a Facebook or a media option for sharing stories, and just everybody getting more excited about what they're doing and how they can do more. So we're pretty excited, and we're thankful to be part of this.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jackie. And I forgot to mention, if you do have more than one slide and I have not advanced it, please just let me know next slide so that I can make sure to get through each of your slides. So next we have the City of Campbell River. Campbell River, Michelle, are you on the line? You may have to *6 to unmute your line. Oh, I see you're typing.
Okay, I think I'm here.
Yep, we gotcha. Thank you.
The City of Campbell River is, we're trying to engage the community by bringing together the different sectors: recreation, health, education, and sport. We're mirroring a program that was done in the Cowichan Valley, and we're working with Pacific Sport. And what our goal is to introduce physical literacy concepts and rationale for implementing the physical literacy concepts across the sector. And we're doing that by finding a champion, which we've done in the mayor of Campbell River. And then we have been meeting with the different sectors and key players in those sectors. And we are going to be putting together a working group that will look at how are we going to promote physical literacy within our community. So it'll be a working group. And at this point, we're going to be doing a rah-rah session and bringing in people from all the different sectors. We're hoping to do that early February with Dr. Boone, who is from the University of Manitoba, and he's one of the foremost authorities on physical literacy. And then from there, we'll be getting our working group together and moving forward. That's it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, next we have Sean from the Village of Chase. Sean, if you're able to unmute your line, it's all you. Sean, are you there? *6 to unmute your line. I see that you're on the line, but maybe stepped away for a second. Sean, if you're there, could you *6 to unmute your line? Otherwise, we can circle back. Okay, we will come back to Village of Chase and hope that Sean checks back. We are about 10 minutes ahead of our time, so it's possible that he's just stepped away for a few minutes. So if it's okay to move on to City of Colwood, Amy and Alyssa, we'd love to hear from you.
Hi there. So we have Alyssa and myself, Amy, here today, and we are representing two different nonprofit organizations that are involved in a collective impact approach called One Ability. And both of our organizations are part of the stewardship of this collective impact approach. So we partnered with the District of Colwood to try to address the limited opportunities for sport and recreation for people with disabilities in our region. And I will just let Alyssa describe what, sorry, our screen just went blank and we're trying to get it back up. There we go. So I'll let Alyssa just describe a little bit more about One Ability, and then I'll go into detail about a recent success that we had with our project.
So what One Ability is a group of community partners all working together to improve the landscape for physical activity and recreation for individuals with disabilities. So right now in our collective, we have over 40 organizations, each contributing to different areas of work. We've got education and knowledge mobilization, research and innovation, event hosting, community and awareness building, and fund development, all overseen by our stewardship group. And so these different constellations each meet independently, and we come together once a year in our annual year in review, where we reevaluate our goals, talk about our successes and challenges, and then create new goals for the subsequent year. So this is our third year, and it is actually our first year of having any funding for what our outcomes are. So we're really thrilled to be a part of this active community. And I'll let Amy take over and talk about one of our recent successes.
So the photo that you can see on your screens here is of a recent event that we hosted called Promotion Week. And the purpose of this week is both to get people out trying new sports, which are adapted opportunities for physical activity. And in conjunction with the event, we also run an education workshop for recreation center staff, physical literacy programmers, and students in our communities. So this year's event was a huge success. We had several different vendors come out, and we actually had students from schools come out and try different activities. So we had indoor curling, we had wheelchair rugby, wheelchair basketball, sledge hockey, blind soccer, we had some hand cycles out, we had outdoor exploration, lots of things for people to try. And it was our biggest turnout this year, and we saw a huge spike in interest in all of the organizations following this event. So we hope to run this event annually with as much success as this year. And going forward, we want to increase the number of educational opportunities that we have for folks who are working in the sport and recreation sectors in our community. And we were also very interested in learning about evaluation, especially long-term. So the earlier presentation was very interesting for us, and we look forward to hearing about other projects that are happening throughout the province.
Mm-hmm. With this active community grant, we will be creating more resources for training locally and also in the region. So if anybody listening to this is interested in accessing some of our resources, we do have a website, oneability.ca, where you can access these resources, including information on how to establish collective impact models like this in your region. And other outcomes from the grant are creating training materials, boosting the capacity for different programs around the region, whether that's creating partnerships where there's better staff training or better collaboration around program delivery, or even just greater outreach for more participants to learn about the programs and attend. And over the last 3 years of One Ability being in existence, we really have seen a huge boost in collaboration and impact in the region just because of this collaboration. So really, we're trying to shift from competition to collaboration, and we've seen some huge successes from that. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy and Alyssa. I'm going to try Sean again. Sean from Village of Chase, if you are on the line, we just missed your turn here. You can *6 to unmute your line.
Hi, good morning. I am here.
Great. Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I actually stepped out to get some water because I thought we were going alphabetically, and I thought I had some time.
Oh, we went alphabetically.
So what's that?
We went alphabetically by chase, not village.
Oh, by municipality. Okay, sorry, everybody.
Sorry.
So we've embarked here in Chase on creating an active transportation plan, and so we've created an overarching goal, which is to generate a catalyst for improving active transportation here in Chase. And we've also established a number of outcomes. We want to establish a baseline existing conditions report and create recommendations for a master plan. And we also want to establish an implementation plan, because we feel that a plan without an implementation plan is not a complete plan. And we want to create some policy updates for our OCP and all of our development bylaws so that they're consistent when and if development occurs. We can capitalize on development or the developer's resources and less on our municipal resources. So we established a committee, and it's the Village of Chase Active Transportation Committee. And the purpose of the committee is to identify active transportation issues and assess our existing active transportation network and develop a draft active transportation plan. And the committee is composed of a number of voting members of the public that have volunteered to sit on this committee. We've got 2 representatives from pedestrian, we call them pedestrian mobility advocates. We've got 1 cycling mobility advocate. We've got 1 person that's knowledgeable with physical accessibility issues. We originally wanted somebody with physical accessibility issues, and we weren't able to find somebody. We've got 1 that advocates for seniors' mobility issues, and 1 to advocate for nature trails, because our scope is not just within our municipal boundaries, but how it connects to our outlying areas and how it connects with recreation opportunities and activities. We've got 2 additional members that advocate for the community in general, and then we've got a council liaison that sits on that as well, but they're non-voting. And the goals of our active transportation plan is to respond to the needs of an aging population. We've got definitely an aging population here in Chase, and to support economic development, to accommodate persons with disabilities, and to support our official community plan. Our committee had its first meeting last week, went very, very well. There's a lot of energy in that room. In the picture you can see we're all standing around a map, putting stickies on there, and so many good ideas. There was definitely a lot of energy at that meeting, and we're looking forward to capturing our committee members' energy and keeping the momentum going. So we're going to have another meeting relatively shortly so that it's not lost. And our next steps are to finalize the terms of reference. We wanted to create a draft terms of reference and then give the committee a sense of ownership by giving them an opportunity to make some small tweaks to it and then adopting it as a committee. And to do that, we're going to establish a committee chair and create some order in that committee, and then they, as a committee, can adopt those terms of reference, so they've got some ownership of that. We're going to complete our existing conditions assessment. So what do we have? What are our assets? And because only then can you sort of get a handle on your constraints and your obstacles. We're going to establish a social media presence. We're going to start some online surveys and delve into public engagement. And we've got a lot of strategies for that. So it's been a good start, and I'm looking forward to every aspect of this project. So that's it from Chase. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sean, and Village of Chase. So next we have Eskedum First Nation, and I see that we do have someone on the line. Beatrice, are you interested in speaking, or would you like Celeste to speak to your community?
Hi, this is Beatrice Anthony from Eskedum.
Hi, Beatrice.
Hi, I don't have any projects to report. I was basically online to listen and learn about the various projects that were currently being in place.
No problem at all. Celeste is able to provide a brief
great.
review, if that's okay. Perfect.
Okay, thank you
so much.
I'll unmute or mute the button again.
Yeah, thanks. Janessa had mentioned to me that she was not able to participate, so she had given me a little bit of an update. And the program is really to connect individuals to land, water, and traditional terrain in which their ancestors once lived. They're utilizing horseback riding, mountain biking, and martial arts as kind of their initiative to get people out and moving. And it will use, as well as cross-country skiing and canoeing, to strengthen family relationships and their cultural identity. So it's intended to allow all community members to explore the traditional land and incorporate the culture while getting active, and create a sustainable long-term plan to bring back the horses and the land travel culture that was once utilized. They're also going to be doing programming for the community on these activities that will take place to ensure safety, knowledge, and proper techniques for being used. So you can see some of the pictures where they've already had a group of folks go out and and with their bikes, to get out and get active as part of the program. So we look forward to kind of hearing some updates and learning more about the activities that they're going to be holding. Awesome. Thank you, Celeste. And apologies if we put you on the spot there, Beatrice. Just wanted to make sure you had the opportunity to speak on behalf of your community. So next we have City of Kamloops. Nicole, if you are there, could you *6 and unmute your line?
Hi there. Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Hi. So welcome. So I've got a couple people here from Play Kamloops here. I've got Elisa, who is our Sport for Life rep, and then I see Sherry Stoddy, our Healthy School Promoting Coordinators, is also on the line. Can you text Boomer? So welcome. We're Play Kamloops. Next slide. So our project is based around physical literacy. So this is just sort of a bit of a definition to give an idea of what we are doing and what we're endeavoring to do. So it's about fundamental movement skills, learning them and being confident and motivated to be participating for lifelong activity, leisure, vocation, and sport. Next slide. So these are just some ideas of fundamental movement skills and sort of the importance of them. So if you can balance on snow and ice, you can snow shovel, you can walk on trails, you can skate, you can ski, walk across a slippery parking lot. So that's just an idea of how having confidence in your body and moving your body can lead to participation in life and health. Next. Oh. I'm not sure what happened here. Oh, maybe it just needed time to load. So we have a lot of partners around the table. So locally, we're Play Kamloops, and that consists of 15 different organizations around the table. Provincially, we have BC Games as well, and then Sport for Life Canada. So I think those logos just didn't load on the global partnership, but really all that slide was just showing is the teamwork and collaboration locally, provincially, and federally. These are our partners here locally. Next slide. And this is our team, so I'm the one speaking in the red, right in the center, and then that's part of our team, not everybody's there. So really this was just to give a bit of a taste of what we do. We're a group in Kamloops that looks toward building physical literacy initiatives to make our community healthier. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole, and apologies for those slides not coming through. Sometimes if there's certain formatting on your end on a PowerPoint, it doesn't always load properly into our webinar interface. So our apologies that we weren't able to.
No problem. It was just logos on there anyway, so thanks.
Perfect. Those are important too. What's that? Okay, yeah, everyone will be getting a PDF copy of the PowerPoint afterwards, so we will be able to see everything once it's in a PowerPoint format. So all of your partners will be represented. Okay, so next we have the District of Lillooet, and I want to just check if there is anyone here from Lillooet to speak to the project, and if not, Celeste will provide a brief overview on your behalf. So if you are here from Lillooet, okay, so Celeste is going to give a quick overview.
Yes, unfortunately, the folks from Lillooet were not able to join us either, but I do have a quick little update that I'd like to share. So the District of Lillooet is that they're creating an active communities master plan with the relationship building for the Island Interior Health and First Nations Health Authorities. They're creating a partnership agreement with both those authorities, which will help inform the Lillooet official community plan, which is due to be updated in the spring of 2018. The fresh community input on healthy active lifestyles for the District of Lillooet is including the Northern, I'm not going to say this right, it's the Northern First Nations populations in the Squamish-Lillooet Regional District, I apologize for that, and Area B, which will provide a template to maintain and increase the quality of life in the District of Lillooet for future generations. Their council hopes that through staging events such as a bicycle rodeo in partnership with the Lillooet Off-Road Cycling Association, as well as introducing infrastructure such as bicycle racks at key places throughout their community, that residents will be inspired to participate in the active community planning and the OCP. So that's, that's kind of a snapshot of some of the activities in their program that they'll be embarking on. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Celeste. Okay, so next up we have District of Metchosin. Shannon, if you're on the line, are you able to *6 to unmute?
Hey, can you hear me?
We can hear you. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Shannon Carmen. I am the chair of the Healthy Communities Advisory Committee for the District of Metchosin. And we have embarked on a project to consult and plan and design an active public space in the middle of Metchosin. We're a rural community outside of Victoria. Traditionally farming, so there's not a lot of pedestrian friendly places for people to labor. Specifically, this project sort of came about as a result of a lot of young families getting together to ask for a place for young kids to run around, a playground, and that sort of to weave together with some seniors groups that were asking for some space that was more accessible for people with limited mobility. Again, as a community, we don't have a lot of paved areas. We do have a wealth, though, of trails and hiking and parks. But the issue was that for people with young families and for people with limited mobility, either elderly or people just differently able, there wasn't a lot of physical options for them to get exercise. So we have now created a steering committee that is planning, we've hired a consultancy as well that is helping us to consult with the community over the next number of months to find out what kind of space would make sense for Metchosin, where would it be located, what would it consist of, talking to specifically those three demographics, and we want to make sure that everybody is able to access these consultations. So we've had them at different times of day, at different locations. We're providing childcare for our event that will be family-based on the weekend in the afternoon. The senior event will be in a friendly space in the community, and yeah, just trying to make it as accessible as possible to hear all the different voices, all the perspectives on what we would want to build. So this picture is just an idea of the kind of thing we're looking at. Adult exercise material, playground, paved area for people to walk around and linger. The biggest thing for us is that because of our ruralness, people are far apart, and we've heard just repeatedly that young parents and stuff have trouble getting to know each other because everyone's so far apart. And so bringing that multi-generational kind of accessible space in the middle of the community where there's already a number of businesses, it sort of anchors it. And so if there is opportunities for people to get physical in that place, they're going to be more likely to go if they know that they're going to run into somebody and have some sort of socialization. So yeah, we're hoping by the end of our project we will have done that consultation, we will have gone through a design process, and that will have something, a really nice package that we can then go and leverage for different grants and funding to build a space. So I think that's about it.
Great, thanks, Shannon. All right, next we have the Regional District of Nanaimo. Hannah, if you are on the line, it's your turn. Hello? Hannah, Regional District of Nanaimo, or someone else representing Nanaimo?
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, we can hear you.
Great. So yeah, we are undertaking a few different initiatives thanks to this grant funding. The first that is underway currently is a social inclusion and physical accessibility audit of community facilities. And being a regional district, we obviously do provide recreation services in a number of communities and electoral areas. So that audit is going to take place in a number of community facilities, not just the ones owned and operated by the regional district. So we're working with the town of Qualicum Beach and the city of Parksville and School District 69 to do those that audit there. The second research piece that's just getting underway now is a review of our booking policies, again, at various community facilities. So what are the booking fees that are in place and policies that are in place there as far as they relate to programs that support physical activity? So what does it cost for a sports group to come in and rent a gym, and what's the reasoning behind that? And so at the end of the review, we hope to be able to provide that information to our partners, and then they obviously will have to take that back to their own boards or councils. And here within the RDN, we operate 2 facilities, and so of course we'll be looking at that information and hopefully applying that as we move forward. We are also starting a new activity program called She's in Nature, and this program is going to be specifically aimed at females of really all ages. Some of you may be aware that the regional districts of Nanaimo, Qualicum Beach, Parksville has one of the oldest demographics in all of Canada, so certainly we're expecting an older demographic to participate and get them out and get them comfortable being active in nature using our extensive trail systems and really connecting with other women in the communities. So there's a sense of knowledge and community that's developed there, and so people eventually that want to just go for a hike can connect and go on out and do that with some confidence and feeling of safety and knowledge. We are also looking to expand an already successful program called RX for Health. This is where a resident of, again, anywhere within the District 69 portion of our regional district can go to a health practitioner and have wellness be their prescription. So they would then bring this prescription to us here at the RDN rec facilities and receive essentially a $40 value towards the program. We've been having this program for just over a year now, and it's been well adopted, to say the least, but we certainly saw some gaps, and so we're looking to expand that specifically in our high schools and giving these prescriptions to our high school counselors and some other areas as well. So we're excited about being able to expand on that program. We're also looking at doing sort of an open cafe, rural cafe piece on inclusion services that are available in, again, District 69. So once we've had the accessibility and social inclusion audit done, we'll have some learnings from that. But we also want to reach out to some other program providers and just have a conversation about how inclusion services are provided in the communities, whether it be financial access or physical inclusion within programs, and having care aides and support workers and things like that available, people like that available to people that need that support, and just sort of make sure we're all aware of what's available and improve our referral process. We know that there's a lot of support happening already in the community, but we're not sure sometimes that we're using it to the best of our abilities and that everyone's aware of all that's available. And finally, as well tied to what we're kind of expecting to come out of some of the accessibility audit, we're looking to improve some of our public spaces throughout the communities and at the former school sites, whether it be replacing basketball backdrops and hoops, or repainting lines on hopscotch, or installing play boxes, whatever it is that comes out of the accessibility audit. We're hoping to use some of the funds towards picking off a few of those ones that are a little bit easier to obtain. So there's a lot on the go for sure, and definitely helpful to have some consultants available to help us out with this, because this is all initiatives that we've always wanted to get done, and as I'm sure many of you can relate, it's just stuff that sits on the corner of our desks, and yeah, so it's been really good to have this support available. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Hannah. So moving along, we have Nanu's First Nation. Mariah, if you're on the line, if you can star 6, unmute your line.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yay! Okay, so Mid-Island Art is really on our BC Healthy Community, what's called Energizing Body, Mind, and Spirit. And you can go to the next, or well, looking at this slide and our logo there, that was through the program we wanted to develop something that encompasses what we aim to do. And we had a local Nanaimo artist develop this logo, and just encompassing the four angles representing the medicine wheel, the different colors, the different directions, and Mid-Island Art, and art standing for Aboriginal Recreation and Culture. We can go to the next slide. And our focus is to prepare the canoe families for the 2018 travel journeys down in July. So it's kind of one of our end goals and our indicators to measure how we're going to prepare our canoe families on and off the water. And so we're starting to do drumming circles from there, and we had a drumming circle and had a really great turnout the last couple of weeks. And as well as we tried to do a canoe pole, but that was one of the foggiest days of the year or of our lives. And so we couldn't get on the water once in January, and we're going to try again in February to start preparing and building up endurance for a 355-kilometer paddle from Nanaimo to Puyallup, Washington. Another one of our objectives is enhancing physical activity and healthy living, and looking at all the different partners we have. One of our partners is Nanaimo Aboriginal Center, and we have a kindergarten to grade 6 elementary school there, and it's an alternative elementary school that's a combination of kindergarten to grade 6. And one of the needs there is they do not have a physical education program, so we're developing a phys ed program for them and for those students so that they have the skills and the confidence when they merge back into mainstream high school, that they'll still be caught up with their physical activities to hopefully integrate and join a sports team. We are also encouraging nutrition, so we can continue to move on, but there's social support and peer support for our elders, as well as just providing networks and trying to develop an inventory for all of our programming. We can go to the next slide. So one of our programs that we started, and we have only 4 moms in there right now, but the entire, with everyone else in Bellies to Babies, there's 10 moms in there, but 4 came out of our program to provide that networking. And so we come together once a week and cook a meal together as moms while our babies and children are in childminding, and then we bring that meal home and we cook. But Nanaimo Community Kitchens also provides nutritional just guides and just a small little mini class on certain nutrition tips for us when we take home for our families. The other one that we're starting to develop in our Sinala First Nation is the Good Food Box, as well as at our Sinala Housing Complex, is hoping to bridge that the accessibility for nutrition for our families, and starting to implement the Good Food Box and partner with Nanaimo Food Share so that our families start understanding who these services are in our communities and that there's services for them as well. And we can move on to the next slide. And that, on the left, that picture is of our first drumming circle that we've had. And that was a lot of families and from all ages. We had a 2-year-old baby up to an elder that was in probably closer to the 70s, early 70s, and we're just joined in songs and dancing for a good 2 hours. And we started doing that once every Thursday now, and that's at our Salwalk Center. On the right, you see that we did a RAT card. So part of my role is a cultural and physical literacy coordinator, and that's to not only provide avenues and education around physical literacy, but also cultural literacy, and hoping to train frontline service workers how to be culturally sensitive as well as culturally aware. So this RAT card symbolizes one of the events that we hosted, and the 12-foot cedar totem pole that was raised. We raised it outside one of our schools and one of the Boys and Girls Club centers here in Nanaimo. And that's just to be an iconic piece and to symbolize that our families are welcomed in these spaces and that they can be familiar and know that this place is a safe place. Yeah. You can go to the next slide. Another one, building off of that cultural competency and cultural literacy, is we're starting to train our frontline service workers in Boys and Girls Club, with, I guess, more in our partners that have more non-Aboriginal employees, and even at VIU, and starting to train these frontline workers on the basics of culture on Vancouver Island. So, you know, starting to teach people, do you know how many nations are on Vancouver Island? Do you know what 3 tribes make up Vancouver Island? And as well as, you know, the difference between on reserve and off reserve, so that when our youth and families go to these different services in a city, that they are not just a statistic and they're not just a checkbox. So we're really starting to build that and bridge that with some elders and myself to just go in and have these simple conversations so that more people become culturally aware on Vancouver Island, especially in the Mid-Island region. You can go to the next slide. One of the events that we're hosting next month it was in partnership with First Nations Health Authority, and it was along the parameters of National Aboriginal Day, and it was the winter wellness, and to bring people out of hibernation and promote and start a new year in a good way with family, culture, and physical activity. So we're doing this big event where families can have the opportunity to go swimming, skating, or have some activities, and Pacific Sport will do those activities in the gymnasium, and then we'll come together for a meal as well as cultural sharing. And you can go to the next slide. You can go to the next, oh yeah, there we go. Oh, go back one, yeah. So then here we are on the left, you see before we started doing the phys ed program at Nisika Kamloops, we brought in Pacific Sport for some training to do a play basics so that we can assess our students that are in there and kind of evaluate where they are in their skills and activities, so that when we brought the phys ed program there, we knew where to focus and how to focus on them. As well as PAC Sport is going to be putting this in the bundle of training our frontline staff so that our staff become trained and well aware that we can do these assessments on our own without having to bring in someone like Pacific Sport every time. But that way that even our frontline service workers, when we have our programs running, that if they see a youth off into the corner, that they have the skill set to know that our that this child is just not confident or has the skills in this one area of whatever sport or activity you're playing, so that we can program more skill-specific activities so that the all youth will stay included. And so when we look at like the evaluation plan, right, we're able to see where these kids were at the very start and where they are at the end of the year. And we were just advised that we can do this play basic assessment with our youth every 3 months, or just going back, and it doesn't need to be something as informal, as formal as that. It was just something that we created formally because it was very new to our students. And then on the right, we're doing a fundamental movement training, as well as high five, going along the lines of Sport for Life and their physical literacy instructor training, and looking at the 4 or 5 components that are with that. We're working towards training multiple of our partners and our frontline workers so that throughout this project that we're leaving a legacy that more than just one of our staff or even just myself are going to be trained based on Sport for Life as physical literacy instructors. You can go to the next slide. And then this is our last slide. Sorry if I'm taking up lots of time, but this is a monthly newsletter that I do. So this is our first one, and that was the one that caught us up from September to December. But this is a communication portal that we use to our steering committee, and we have a steering committee that is about 8 or 9 of us that come together quarterly. And we had one meeting, but this is a communication that if any of our steering committees cannot make our meeting, that they are still up to date with what we are doing and the progress that we have, and then they can reach out to me. And guide me or give me more feedback or ask me questions based on what we are doing. And yeah, and just going on the lines of like keeping our track progress and being able to see what we have done, and looking at that inventory model and what you're going back to those indicators or the pre-indicators and the end result indicators of, where are we shortage on programs, where are we doing so much of an influx of our programs, because we are mid-island and our main applicant is Manawa First Nation, but how do we bridge and expose our youth and our community at Manawa into the services that are only a short distance of 15 to 20 minutes away, and bridge them with other urban Aboriginals in Nanaimo, because in Nanaimo alone we have over 6,400 urban Aboriginals, and so we're trying to create a community within our big community. So, but that is us in a nutshell. We have a lot going on and a lot that we had to leave out in a slide because I can talk for a few hours if we wanted to about this project. But yeah, that is Mid-Island ARC, and I'm excited, and thank you for those that have presented before us, and those that are, I'm looking forward to hearing more about those that are presenting after us. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariah. You're doing a lot. And just a reminder to everyone else on the call, we did get a little bit of feedback during Mariah's presentation, so just a reminder to please *6 to mute your line if you're not presenting, just so we can hear the presenters clearly. So next up we have Amanda from...
Hello.
Okay, yeah, we have Amanda from Okanagan-Similkameen Regional District. So go ahead, Amanda, and Shona.
All right, I have Shona here with me too, so she's going to start us off once our slides get put up there.
I can start if being cognizant of time. This is Shawna. The slide isn't going to say a whole lot for this beginning part anyway. So, oh. Hello?
Hello? Yeah, we can hear you. Sorry about that. We were just
okay. So thank you very much, BC Healthy Communities, for hosting the webinar today. Celeste, Shannon, and Diana. This is a terrific opportunity. I'm just listening to all these other communities sharing. We're getting some ideas already for our initiative as well. Not that we're short of ideas. Similar to Nanaimo, we're a regional district encompassing about 10,400 kilometers of land and about 83,000 residents in our communities. These are both urban and rural areas and some unincorporated communities. So many of our initiatives, we're trying to ensure that they're regional in focus. So it does create an additional dimension. Many of our communities, both urban and rural, have very diverse needs, and they're already offering a variety of recreation and physical activity programs. So we, in our approach is called the regional recreation approach, and again, similar to Kamloops, we're going on the basis of focus on physical literacy and physical activity. We also are very pleased. We do have a very, very supportive board, and recreation is in their corporate plan, so is providing us some leverage for funding and for other initiatives. Very supportive. And I'm going to pass you over to Amanda to explain kind of the meat and potatoes of it all, the most exciting part of things.
Hey everyone. So as Shawna said, our approach here is the regional recreation approach, and you can see our logo in the top left corner there we're pretty proud of. We just got that branding done for us about a month ago. We're seeking to improve access and inclusion to physical activity opportunities throughout the regional district, with our main focus being on physical literacy. A task force has been developed, and we've met twice now. Our next meeting will be February 6th. And our approach is relying on enhancing existing and cultivating new partnerships. So this task force has been really important in our guiding practices here. It consists of Pacific Sport, UBC OMed, Interior Health, Success by Six, our Okanagan-Similkameen Healthy Living Fair, BCRPA, and recreation commissions and municipality recreation providers. So essential to RDOS play, or the regional rec approach, is promoting recognized recreation programs with qualified instructors. So we've started a couple program charters for our target populations. Our first one that we've been working on is our Child and Youth Initiative, and we're going to be offering Appetite to Play to focus on nutrition and physical literacy for 0 to 5-year-olds. We currently have an Outdoor Explorers after-school program running in 3 of our communities, Oakley Falls, Naramata, and West Bench. We are working with Pacific Sport to offer an Explore It Day in each of our communities, and this will focus on ages 9 to 12. And then we also are going to be offering an FMS leadership training opportunity for ages 16 and up. The next initiative that we have is our physical activity trailer, or we've been calling it PAT. And this trailer is going to be a 5x10 trailer that's going to be full of different physical literacy and sport equipment, and that's going to roll out and launch for us on March 10th, which is our Okanagan-Similkameen Healthy Living Fair. And we're hoping that in this 8-month pilot program with the PAT, we'll be visiting about 30 different communities throughout the district here. And then the last initiative that we're working on currently is a regional walking initiative. So we're planning a regional walk and roll week. That's going to be from May 6th to May 13th. And with that initiative, we're going to be offering a Nordic walking training program. And we're also partnering with UBCO Med to help with some training for their new program that they're launching called Walk and Talk for Your Life. That's been pretty successful in the north end of the valley here, and we're going to hopefully bring it down to the south. I'm going to pass you back over to Shauna here. She's going to talk about a little bit more on our physical activity assessments that we've been running as well.
Thanks, Amanda. It was great to hear from Diana because we've gotten some more insight for our physical activity assessments, and maybe we can reach back to you, Diana, with as we move ahead with some of our assessments. It will be a regional-wide physical activity assessment that we're conducting. It'll be online survey, telephone. It'll be available at community rec centers throughout our region, and also at various programs that we're offering. It's really, again, to establish a really detailed baseline for us to both evaluate where people are at today and their attitudes towards physical activity and how active are they, as well as provide us a baseline so then we can evaluate some of our own initiatives, and then hopefully we are able to do the survey a year after year to see what type of progress we're making. So that should be rolling out here by the end of February to all the citizens within our region. So we're looking forward to having some of that data. We've been fortunate. We have had access to other data through some of our partners, Interior Health and Success by Six. They're using some of the EDI and MDI data, and we'll have that as a bit of a review of literature for us. So I'm going to just let you know that we still have two other initiatives that are committed to our regional rec approach. It's working with the First Nations communities and also our older adult priority population. So we're just working with our task force on February to actually develop those initiatives in more detail. Oh, and I guess when we first were informed about this webinar, we were supposed to share our challenges, learnings, and inspirations. I guess starting off with challenges, for us it's kind of a positive negative thing. It's just trying to filter some of the best practices and programs that are already out there. We know there's a lot of great groups that are doing things, Sport for Life, BCRPA, as a variety of other initiatives, but it is challenging to figure out what might work in our diverse communities, so, and for our various priority populations. So that is still a bit of a challenge, but I think we're coming up with some great solutions for that. The community physical activity assessment was also an interesting process for us. Initially, we thought we would just hire someone that could come into our region and assess physical activity. That wasn't as simple as it sounds. So we've gone back actually internal and using some other resources to make that survey and assessment happen. Learnings for us is really once we were awarded the BC Healthy Communities grant, it was really the willingness of all our municipal partners and our other stakeholders to come together and collaborate. We had a task force set up probably within a month, and we have over 14 people on that task force, and we have others knocking on the door. So for us, that was a really neat learning that physical activity and increasing physical activity and reducing sedentary behavior is actually on the radar of many of our partners and our residents. So the other learning for us was trying to figure out how we operationalize PAT, which is the physical activity trailer. So we needed to get a trailer, we needed to have a vehicle. How do we fuel that? How do we insure it? And some of the logistics around that. Do we charge people? At this point, we have a formula that we believe PAT will be free to communities for the first year. And we actually have had a lot of interest from our communities. We have a sponsor that's actually agreed to wrap the trailer with our RDOS branding. So it's all coming around, so we're very positive and very excited about the next 8 months. Inspirations for us have been really the commitment from our partners, our task force, and our board, and creating recreation services and accessibility throughout our region, whether it's municipal or unincorporated areas or rural villages. And that really a play, or physical literacy, is on our regional radars. It's in our commission's plans, our Recreation Commission's plans, and we believe it's becoming the talk of the town. So that's kind of our highlight. I just want to let you know we do have a website, and that is
it's rec.rdos.bc.ca.
That's it for us. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda and Shauna. Okay, next we have Penellicut Tribe. Josh, if you're on the line, if you want to see what Penellicut has been up to.
Yeah. Can everyone hear me all right?
You betcha.
Oh.
Hello? We had you and then we lost you.
Oh, okay. There we go. Perfect. I just want to thank you guys for setting up this webinar. There's been lots of interesting information that's being shared so far. As you can see in the map, Penellicut Tribe is actually located in the Gulf Islands, just outside of Chemainus. It's a small rural community. In total, there's about 960 members. On Penellicut Island itself, it holds a majority of those members. There's about pretty close to 500 people, I'd say, 400 to 500 people. It's one of the larger Hulkmeelan speaking nations outside of the historic Cowichan Nation Alliance. I'll just jump into the project here. I just wanted to give everyone a little bit of context on whereabouts I'm located. So Penellicut Tribe expressed interest in trail development. This was probably in the spring, and I actually contacted our partnering company, which was the Aboriginal Youth Mountain Biking Program. So pretty much we jumped right into an overview community session for the project that we left open to the community. It was well received, well responded to, as well as we worked with the Penellicut Health Society, or Health Center, sorry, which they were very excited about the project, as well as the administration staff that's there. The project, we did the overview session, and then we did an introduction session, which kind of broke down the trail development into a little bit more detail. At that point, we incorporated this introduction session with Penellicut Island Elementary School, as well as Penellicut Island Learning Center. We wanted to incorporate as much youth input as we could for this initiative, and it was the youth in the community were very excited about the project. During these early stages of the development and planning, it was a lot of it was based on community engagement work, communications work, and looking at opportune places to have this trail development. So in the map, it shows the blue line that's there is actually the southern portion of Penellicut Island, and the red line is the north end. So we're going to start with the trails that are located in the north end, just because they would be adjacent with the schools that are located on the island. So we want to make sure that we're providing infrastructure for the youth on the island, as well as utilizing the interpretation for these trails. So the potential for workshops and other other information, I guess, or to incorporate it into the curriculum a little bit more. The next portions that we're going to be looking at doing within the community are going to be based on the more along the lines of the workshops and the actual development of the project. So we're going to be doing a number of different workshops within the community as well as the schools. We're going to be doing riding instructional clinics, bike maintenance and repairs, training for instructors and leaders, trail building workshops, and ride leader instruction. So these workshops are going to the goal for these workshops was to have, the infrastructure set in place, but to make sure that all the youth in the community have the necessary skills to utilize that infrastructure afterwards. Yeah, so it's we're definitely looking forward to getting into this next phase for this spring. There's definitely been some excitement within the community, and looking forward to continuing on with the project. Thanks, guys. I'm assuming there's going to be some contact information that's being passed around. Anyone that's interested in touching base about this project or looking forward to hearing a little bit of information, more than welcome to share my email with you. Okay, thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Josh. And yes, I was going to mention that at the end, that we would love to be able to distribute everyone's contact information so that you can ask questions and connect with each other outside of this webinar. So if there's anyone who does not want their contact information shared, if you could please let us know by Friday. Otherwise, we will distribute a contact list. So again, please let us know if you would rather not have your information shared. Okay, so moving along, we have Amy from the Rocky Mountain Métis Association to talk about their project. Go ahead, Amy.
Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity. As you said, my name is Amy, and I'm here with the Rocky Mountain Métis Association, and I'm working in partnership with the Métis Nation, British Columbia. So thank you very much for the funding. We really appreciate it. Our project is the Métis Health and Culture Days, and it's to provide opportunities for Métis community members to get active while connecting with Métis culture, their communities, and their land. So we have a very large region as we're working in the Interior Health region, and we had 7 Métis charter communities that were successful in participating in the health region. The pictures that you see up right now are from our first Métis Health and Culture Days, which took place on Saturday in Sparwood, and it was hosted by the Elk Valley Métis Association. As you can see, we did some snowshoeing, and we had beginners, intermediates. We had over 15 people who had participated, some people who had never participated, and even elders who were over 80 years old who tried it and really enjoyed it. Following the snowshoeing, we gathered in the hotel in Sparwood, and we had stretching exercises, which you see at the bottom there, who was led by retired massage therapists. And we had information on diabetes and CPOD, and that was the participants were able to take those sheets home, so enabling them to continue those exercises when they got home also. It was a really wonderful evening, and we had over 30 people attend. We had youth, community members, and elders. If you can go to the next slide, please. Oh, no, okay, so Unfortunately, you guys don't have the next slide up, but it is, if anyone wants more information, please let me know. We do actually have a schedule of events that we are hosting, and we have, like I said, 7 different communities. So I'll just go over them really quick. So the Elk Valley, as you saw, we were doing snowshoeing, and then in April they're doing a hike and walk. In Vernon, we will be doing in February a snowshoeing event. The Rocky Mountain Métis Association here in Cranbrook, we're doing yoga and nature walk in conjunction with the Métis Cultural Celebration. In the Nicola Valley District Métis Association in Merritt, in April, they're doing community swim and gym passes. And in May, they'll be having their Métis Cultural Celebration. The Boundary and District Métis Association in Grand Forks is doing in May, they're doing a hike and walk, Métis jigging, and a Métis Cultural Celebration. The Columbia River Métis Association in Invermere, in April, they're doing a Métis Cultural Celebration, which includes jigging, Métis culture, and cooking. And then in May, they will be doing a hike and walk. Finally, in Salmon Arm, their dates are to be announced due to when the season of harvesting comes up. They're going to be doing mushroom harvesting, berry harvesting, and medicinal plants. And then in August, they're beginning to host a Métis Cultural Celebration. In conjunction with all of our really exciting events that we are taking place, we also have a Métis Health and Culture Day survey. And we have the link. Unfortunately, you can't see it. But it is just a brief 5-minute survey to better understand what Métis people would like to see in terms of Métis-specific activities and programs, and what the barriers are to participating in existing physical activities. So we're really excited to announce we just launched our survey actually last week, and we have had over 260 people respond. So that makes us really excited. In the end, we hope that our survey will allow our team to advise our project partners on the best practices for including Métis people in all future physical activity programs. So again, we're really excited for this opportunity to have the grant, and please pass on any of my information to anyone who would like it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Amy. And as Celeste mentioned in the chat box, we will distribute the list of events and the link as part of our resource list and with the PDF of the slides at the end. So thank you very much. Okay, next we have Chris from Songhees First Nation. Chris, if you want to star 6 to unmute your line, you are up.
All right, good morning, everybody. Great to connect with everyone, and thanks for BC Healthy Communities for hosting the webinar, and it's a pleasure to hear all the other communities and organizations and all the great work that's happening. So, yeah, we've obviously been successful with the BC Healthy Communities grant. We're able to start an initiative here at Songhees that we've called Songhees Wheelness, and it is a bike program that focuses on a few different elements. First one being a bike share system that we'll have here at the Songhees Wellness Center for community members to use, bike skills training initiatives for youth and teens, and mountain biking opportunities for community members as well. So important for us to try to deliver a program that's inclusive and hits all levels of community. And the reason we're doing this is they've just completed, or they're completing in the next couple months, a regional bike trail system that runs through the community of Songhees and below the Wellness Center. So perfect time to launch a bike share to promote active transportation for community members, as well as getting people out on the trails for physical activity. With this initiative, we partnered with Capital Regional District, the City of Victoria, Bike to Work Society, and as well as I'll Share Cycle, which will service and maintain the bikes that will be part of the bike share initiative. So we have 8 adult bikes and a few youth bikes that will be available for community members to use. So the bike that's up on the screen is the bike that we chose. They're Brody bikes, and they're step-through bikes, which makes them the most inclusive bike, easy for elderly people to get on. And with the seat, the way it drops, it's actually quite easy for some youth or young teens to ride. So that's why we went with those bikes. And then we have the youth bikes are Brody mountain bikes. So that's to try to have communities getting out and ride, and like we say, have all community members to have access to those bikes. So far, we've done a community bike night before Christmas to provide info to community about the bike share program, just to get the kids out on bikes in our gymnasium. It was a dark, rainy day, so it was nice to have our gymnasium with the floor down to have the kids out riding. Also use this opportunity to do some baseline info, or get some baseline info in a survey for community to kind of see what barriers exist and how we can best offer our programs and services to community for community engagement. And we're looking to launch our bike share program in the next couple weeks, just finalizing some details around security and kind of where the bikes will be situated at the center. But yeah, there's been great interest from community members, and looking forward to offering that opportunity to staff and community. In March, we're working with Bike to Work Society, as I mentioned, as a partner to run youth training for different levels of youth, young kids, middle school and teen. And with the bike skills, if the kids participate in the program and complete it, they'll get a used bike that's in good working order, a helmet, and a light. So there is some incentive for them, but just to have those courses to improve their confidence and safety on the bike is really important. And yeah, just excited to launch this program and move forward. So it's great to hear some of the other initiatives that's going on around biking and what Josh is doing up at Penelakut. And yeah, just really looking forward to moving forward with the Songhees Wellness Program. So that's the quick rundown on what the initiative here is at Songhees. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing, Chris. Okay, and our last presenter of the morning, we have Laura from Haklip First Nation. Laura, if you can star 6 to unmute your line.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Thanks.
Awesome. So I work with the community of Haklip. I'm the community health nurse. We're about 15 minutes from Lillooet, so we're a rural community, and we are part of the Northern Statliam Nation that was Shannon had mentioned before. So you can see in the picture that we're in a really beautiful setting. Our project is aimed at getting the community more active. The area that you see in the photos is a basketball court. The basketball court is not able to be used. It's quite dilapidated. It needs some work to get it up and running. So we've been working a lot with the community, doing community engagement to get ideas of what's going to get them moving. We had the idea of the basketball court in mind, and it was a big hit with the community. Previously, it ran year-round as an ice rink as well. So we're hoping to do the work to get it working and get our families and our youth in there again. Additionally, we completed a community survey, and we got some really great feedback from our community of other ideas that they'd like to see in the community for physical activity, both on and off reserve. And since we've distributed that and had our feedback, we've been able to get the rec center in Lillooet organized to have a sign-up sheet for our members, so they can now access the recreation facility in town, which is about 15 minutes away, but some of our members do live in the town of Lillooet, and they can access any and all activities, and the cost is covered. It includes yoga, swimming lessons, and other drop-in events. So that just started this month, and that's a really big positive for our community. We were one of the only First Nation communities in the area that didn't have a system like that. Additionally, some of our work has been, we held a focus group with the youth in the community, and we heard from them, and it was very moving to hear what they wanted to see, and they had some great ideas about building some teams and having this recreation site on reserve where they can host other teams coming, and they want to have pennies with their logo. So we have some really, really good hopes for participation with our youth and families. And right now we've finished up with our data collection. We were able to get both qualitative and quantitative data from our community survey and our different sessions that we've held with the community and staff. We're waiting for our contractor to start work and give us our start dates and estimates. They're currently working on some tiny homes in one of our other communities, and being a rural community, Lillooet only has very minimal contractors. So that's what's delaying us from going farther, but we were planning on starting that work in the spring, so we're pretty happy where we are with our project right now. We've formed a planning committee and a working group, and because this work is very, I'm looking at it as, you know, the building blocks for improving the health of the community. We're doing a lot of work with nutrition as well. And part of our working group is identifying areas of other need. So other needs for the community for physical activity, for other areas, so that the group will be ready in the future for more grants and opportunities to improve access for the members. When Shannon came out to our community, she experienced some of the trouble that, you know, with the roads coming up to our community, it can be quite treacherous. The transportation is still an issue for our community, and it is a barrier to accessing the services in town. We have recently purchased a new community bus that we're still waiting to recruit drivers for. So part of our hopes is to have community bus available to transport families and community members to town to access recreation services and participate in different events. So that's a work in progress. Another thing to note is that our Head Start program received a grant for their playground, which is directly adjacent to this basketball court. And we're going to be combining some of our community engagement efforts to increase participation and really rally the community about, you know, building up the infrastructure that we do have and getting people out there, making it more accessible and more appealing to our families. The feedback we've gotten so far is that these areas are very minimally used, and we'd love to see people outside and engaging with each other. So that's about it for us right now. We have been working with some of our partners and just the planning process and trying to get ready to get the work done and really building on some of the foundational concepts with the community and increasing their knowledge and empowering them with the tools they need to be active and work towards a healthier lifestyle. That's about it for us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Laura. Okay, well, that concludes our communities for the morning. So at this time, we would love to turn it over to question period. So there are a few different ways that you can ask a question depending on your comfort level with the system. You can either use the chat box on the right, and we can relay your question to any of the communities. You can also use the the hand up tab at the top that Celeste directed you to at the beginning, so you can raise your hand and then we can give you the opportunity to speak, or feel free to also just unmute your line and jump in with a question you might have for a specific community. So I know to start off, Diana had a question for one of the communities. So Diana, I'll pass it over to you.
Great, thanks Shannon, and thanks to everyone for sharing your updates. It was so amazing to hear what everyone's doing around the province. So I just wanted to direct my question to Josh from the Penelakut tribe. Thank you so much for sharing more about the project. If you're willing, I was interested in hearing how you engaged the youth's feedback on the trail development, and if you're also willing to share what kind of input or some of the youth's ideas around the trail development. That would be great.
Josh, if you are still on the line, if you could just star 6 to unmute. Otherwise, we can email you our question. Hello? Josh, if you can star 6 to unmute your line, please. Okay, well we can move on to other questions, and then if Josh comes back, then it looks like he might be typing. So. Oh, okay. So maybe we'll just hold that question for a second. We'll move on to one of the other questions in the meantime. So I see there's a question from Hannah to Mariah, wondering who at the Regional District of Nanaimo you're working with, as you are both partners on the project. So Mariah, if you're able to connect with Hannah.
Hey, sorry guys, I just had to dial in again. Mariah, are you still there? I can mute so you can answer, or I can go ahead.
Go ahead, Josh. We can hear you. Thanks.
Okay, sounds good. How we engaged the youth was actually give all the praise and thankfulness to the staff over at Penelakut Island Elementary School. They provided us with a block where we could do an introduction to the project right in the school. The school is about 100 students, so myself and my partner and company, Aboriginal Youth Mountain Biking Program, did a overview of the project. So I guess to operationalize it, I guess it'd be through the number of participants that were there, which was, I don't have my numbers right in front of me, but there's pretty sure it was just over 70 students that day. As well as we were trying to include the Penelakut Island Learning Center, or Learning Center, which is our adult basic education building. I believe we had 2 people come from there, so it was kind of lower numbers from there. So we have a little bit of legwork for some of the older youth that are in the community. And I'm sorry, what was the second portion of that question?
Oh, thanks, Josh. The second part was if you'd be willing to share some of the youth's ideas around trail development, some of the things that they came up with.
Yeah. There were some examples given through my partner and company with some of the other community sites worked with, developing specific features on the trail and things like that. That generated the most interest with the youth. Otherwise, we've included a lot of feedback from the faculty and staff at the schools, as well as we incorporated some yeah, some work from the health center as well as the elders, which is where the more of the interpretation side of things came into discussion. Opportunities of having, some sort of workshop facility that was attached to the trail, as well as interpretive signage. That way there could be a little bit more of the history and really trying to focus on mobilizing that knowledge of the history of Penelakut Island and trying to incorporate it into the education of the elementary schools. So
thank you so much for sharing.
that was a long-winded answer to that question, but I guess we incorporated input from a lot of different people during this engagement process so far.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks.
Josh. I see, Shannon, you have your hand up. So Shannon from Metchosin, did you have a question for one of the communities?
Hi, yeah, thank you. My question would be, I guess, to anybody who has experience and some of the First Nations who are taking part in these grants too. We've been looking for ways to include our neighboring First Nations in the planning and designing of our sort of central space. In Metchosin, I spoke with the chief before applying for the grant, and he was very excited to be involved. But since then, there's been an election, and I haven't been able to get a hold of anybody on the at the tribal office. And I've been going down there and really trying to be present, but it's just been challenging. So I was wondering if anybody had any advice or suggestions. I'd be really grateful, because I really do want to find ways to engage with them. And I thought initially that could be a delegate sitting on our steering committee, but maybe maybe I have to be open to that being looking different. So yeah, if anybody had any thoughts, I would be grateful.
That's a great question, Shannon, and I would imagine lots of other communities have similar questions. So, Josh, over to you. Thank you.
Hi, this is again Josh James from Penelakut Tribe. I know I've heard of this come up more than once about contacting specific people, and yeah, for like I know for myself, like I'm kind of everyone's resources have limitations, right? So it's kind of difficult to contact the right person. My position itself is within economic development, so it's I have my undergrad focused on recreation, so for myself it's kind of one of those things that really touches home with me, and try to incorporate it into a lot of my programs that I run in the community. But yeah, like the first initial contact would be for Penelakut would be from reception, and then reception would follow that along to the appropriate person. I think staff within administration, that's administration and our health center, there's probably about 70. So that's kind of the first line of contact. Hopefully that helps.
Thanks, Josh.
Thanks, Josh. Does anyone else have any comments to follow up on what Josh had to say in response to Shannon's question?
Hey, Shannon, it's Mariah here. I could try and grab. So The first would be, my suggestion is doing understanding who your neighboring nations can be. And when you said like election just came up, usually in a sense of a lot of any elections, there's always a turnover. And when new election teams are sworn into their new roles, one suggestion would be, however long that has been since election, would be going back to similar echoing what Josh had to say, was calling the reception. And usually in a lot of governance, every nation is different when because they're their own sovereign nations and the way they govern their nations in regards to portfolios. And like what Josh said, usually when new council or new chiefs come in, they're giving these rules as to what portfolios they're going to carry forward during their term. And one suggestion would be, when you call reception, is not coming with a broad message of wanting to contact, but maybe asking on a smaller form whether they're the higher up management and coordinators of who is their portfolio holders for recreation and wellness. But looking at when you're talking about the chosen in your activities, would be getting to know the nation and going strictly to whether it's the health center you want to contact and looking at their levels of staff members and what frontline workers they have. It can be intimidating to reach out to these communities, and it's also an intimidating factor when it's the other way around, when you guests go into a community as well from community members. So I think there's a different approach, whether you go into the reception side and ask directly on the who's holding portfolios, or you go on the frontline workers and to a specific program if those are your target demographic. So if you want young moms, try and see if they have a young moms program that you can go and meet and build relationships on that level. So there's a couple suggestions. You can rule with those, and if you ever have any other questions, I'm sure, if I can't speak for Josh, but Josh and I are also available around to help.
Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. That's been really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Mariah and Josh, for responding to that question. So we only have a couple of minutes left, so if there are no burning questions, we would like to just follow up with some next steps. So again, thank you so much to everybody for participating in the webinar today. I know it's a big time commitment, so thank you for taking the time. I think everyone really appreciated hearing from one another and finding out the diversity of projects across Island and Interior Health Authority regions. Celeste is going to be sending out a link to an evaluation for this webinar, so please let us know what worked well for you and what might not have. And also, if there are any resources that you need to support your work, you can mention those in the evaluation, or you can always just connect with us at any time if you need support for your project. And just a reminder again that the midpoint evaluation is due at the end of April, and we will be sending out that evaluation well in advance to look at what you're going to need to prepare for us, and same with the final report, same process. And finally, if you are not comfortable sending in your contact information, please do let us know. Otherwise, I think people would appreciate being able to connect directly and ask questions and find out about more details of your project as it progresses. So again, a big thank you on behalf of all of our partners and our funders for participating today, and we look forward to working with you over the next several months. Farewell.